What is going on, folks? Welcome to episode 168 of Hat Trick Hockey, brought to you always by GL Heritage, the official beer of Hat Trick Hockey Podcast. I am your host, Brett Hedges, with the mastermind of Hat Trick Hockey himself, Anthony Gaudette. If you like the merch, smash the link in the description to check out our merch store, pick up anything that suits your needs, and check out our store for new and improved models of our existing logos and such as that process keeps going on. What's your favorite new item in the merch store, Anthony?
I like the hats.
Yep,
I
new
like the
design on
hats
the
a lot.
hats, right? The one you're
Yeah.
rocking right
Yeah,
now.
we're gonna get some stuff going here, some new shirts and stuff going here. Get a little bit of a line going.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, if you guys have any ideas of what you think that you would want to wear, make sure you send us a message and say, hey, do you guys have this in mind, or have you done this? Because if it's one of those things where if we haven't thought about it or if we haven't heard about it, hey, like
It'll
we're
get you
willing
some
to
free
try
merch.
anything.
Let's put it that way. How about
Yeah, absolutely.
that?
Like
How about
we're always
that?
looking into doing new
Yeah.
things and stuff. So I've heard some people ask for, hey, like, can you hook me up with some stickers, stuff like that. So we're always looking on
It
things like
takes an
that. So
army. Takes an
that's right.
army.
So let us know if whatever you want here, and of course, check out the link in the description for the merch store. And I have dubbed this the catch up show
Yeah.
because we have been unable to get together for quite a little while based
Yeah.
on our schedules. I'm on vacation right now. I'm up in northern Muskoka, and my dog is barking in the background. Stop it right now. Anyway, and a lot has happened in just a short amount of time, so we had to jump on here to get to the bottom of things,
Yeah.
and there's quite a few things that we could talk about right off the top, but I think we have to go in historical order here and talk about Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. The last time we chatted, it was
Yeah.
after Game 5, and we
I
both
believe so.
thought that Edmonton was going to win Game 6 and
Yeah.
force it to Game 7. You and I both predicted Florida to win the Stanley Cup in 7 games, but I hate to say it, and I am disappointed that the reverse sweep did not happen, but I
Yeah.
give full credit to the Florida Panthers for pulling it off. What are your thoughts on Game 7 and the Stanley Cup final as a whole? In my opinion, a great, entertaining
Oh.
series.
Does it get any better than that? So a team
No.
goes down 3-0, another team comes right back, wins three straight. And now we're playing one game for the Stanley Cup like you do on your like every kid does on their street. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like not only that, like when it comes down to the game itself, the Florida Panthers, I give you full marks.
Lockdown.
Yeah, to just lock things down when you lost 3 games in a row. You were one win away from winning the Stanley Cup 4 games straight, and you lost 3 games straight, and were one win away from losing the Stanley Cup, and which probably would have went down as the biggest upset in NHL history, probably.
For sure.
And it's but the way they did in the game, it was just they just completely went into shutdown mode. The last 2 games of the series, game 6 and 7, between Connor and Leon, only combined for 1 assist, I believe, in the
Yep.
last 2 games of the series. Now I
Mhm.
know they were both a little bit banged up. Besides the point, though, I thought Connor was going to have a lot bigger of a game 7. I thought he was going to be a little more of a factor, but however, that
Yeah.
just gives you marks to Florida on D, Aaron Ekblad, and just the way they just completely shut them down. It was like they
Yeah.
smothered them. I understand. Was it the Reinhardt goal? He got the winner.
Yes, he got the winner in the
Okay.
second period of Game
I
7.
thought at first, like, holy, like, how did that even get in? Like, it looked like it was shot right at the goaltender almost, didn't it?
Yeah, it was not what you imagine being a Stanley Cup winning goal, but hey,
No,
you throw it on net and you
got to
and
shoot the
it,
puck.
no, it was pretty poetic, kind of. I guess that's the word you want to use. That it was Sam Reinhart, considering he scored 57 on the year.
Yeah.
He had their big name for the last 2 playoff runs,
Mhm.
and he cashed in when the time was right. Like it was pretty impressive the way that Florida shut them down
Yeah,
after
it was.
losing 3 games in a row. They rebounded like they could have folded and they
Yeah,
could have lost on home ice and they could have gotten blown out by playing loose defensively, and that's not what happened. They
composure.
shut everything down,
Yeah,
and that is a credit to leadership and the credit to the head coach Paul Maurice.
I
And
was just gonna say that.
and no one deserves this more than Paul Maurice.
Yeah, and what a
30
speech.
years. Yeah, he
What?
had a great speech, a lot of F-bombs in it. And
Yeah.
honestly, it wasn't like it was gratuitous
Yeah.
because it's not like being arrogant about it.
Mhm.
He's being like impactful with his like effort because he
Yeah.
knows all the sweat, blood, and tears that he's had to go into this. Like his career was taken away from him basically by an injury.
Yeah.
He was forced to go on the bench, but when he was with the Windsor Spitfires, and then that's how he got into the league, right? And he ended up working for Carmanos, were the Hartford Whalers. He was the second youngest head coach
Mhm.
ever when he first got his first job. And that's the guy that has absolutely earned it.
Yeah.
But what a paradox that it was against a guy named Chris Knobloch who got his first NHL gig after Jay Woodcroft got fired in November,
Yeah.
right? It's such a tale of two like paths to getting to the final and winning your first Stanley Cup kind of thing, right?
Crazy.
Because it makes sense that Paul Maurice deserves this,
Oh, of
right?
course.
He deserves it more than Knobloch deserves it, but like there's no like we're parsing like deserving and whatever, but like he's
Yeah.
put in the time. Like
Uh,
you feel better about Paul Maurice getting the cup than if it was just like a 1v1 Knobloch versus Paul Maurice. Like,
He was, and that was probably one of the most classiest interviews I have ever heard after a coach winning a Stanley Cup. Like
yes.
I believe he gave a shout out to a family in LaSalle, I believe, but
Okay.
he gave like a bunch of like shout outs and stuff. It was very well said. Like
Yeah.
he's really good with words. He's a very smart
Mhm.
man. He's a great hockey mind. I can't believe it took this long for him to win his first Stanley Cup, to be honest with you, because he's such
Well,
a
yeah.
great coach, but I'm
So
happy
let's re
for him. It's great, man. It's great.
yeah. Let's kind of recap his career here a bit because um I can just kind of go from memory. Let's go back. He coached in Hartford, and then he
Yeah.
coached them as they became Carolina. He took them to the Stanley Cup Finals against Detroit over
Oh,
20 years ago,
that was an 0-2, right?
02.
Yeah.
And then he went to Toronto after that, and he had fun with. I thought that he did pretty well with the Toronto media, right? And but the team didn't win enough. And then he went to Winnipeg, and I thought that he did a really good job with that Winnipeg team.
He loves Winnipeg.
Yeah, and rightfully so. And then of course after things didn't go great in Winnipeg, like I thought he always put a good product on the ice, but they just weren't winning enough.
Yeah.
Like he's always been solid. He's always going to have your big wins, and with a market like that, like having a coach like Paul Maurice, I'm talking about Winnipeg, that's really important to have. But like they just weren't successful, and Winnipeg hasn't been successful. Like look at them this year. Like they stumbled. They
Yeah.
stumbled. They had a great regular season and they stumbled. But whatever.
That Florida team's a wagon though. Like that
Absolutely. And then he
like
comes to Florida and he's got a great team and he comes in at the right time and he builds this
yeah.
into an absolute dominating force.
Yeah.
And the last two Stanley Cup runs, full credit to him because he's the guy that's been pulling the strings the whole time, and he deserves his flowers. And we're very happy that Paul
Yeah.
Maurice, former Windsor Spitfire, guy who has Windsor Essex roots, wins the Stanley Cup. And let's not forget another guy that won the Stanley Cup with the Florida Panthers. Who's that, Ant?
Aaron Ekblad.
Aaron Ekblad. He's been with Florida for 10 years. He
Wow.
was the number one overall pick in 2014 in that draft, where four guys from that draft were in the finals together. Ekblad, Reinhardt,
Remember this
Draisaitl.
too. It was a year or two ago too as well. Didn't he get a really bad leg injury?
I am then not. I can't. I don't know
I
that
could have
off the top of
sworn
my
he
head.
missed like almost a full season. He had a really bad injury. He had to have surgery. He had to battle back from that,
Mhm.
which is hell on
Yeah.
guys. And just man, for him to just come back and do all this and to win a Stanley Cup is just it's good for the area. Like to have two
Mhm.
guys from the area on the same team win a Stanley Cup is awesome.
Yeah, and one more thing before I go back on the Ekblad thing. Another guy with Windsor roots is Brandon Montour. He played lacrosse down here
Yes.
back when he was a young kid. So
Yes.
we'll talk about him later when we talk about free agency.
Yeah.
But going back to the Ekblad thing, like because he's gotten a lot of crap online over the years because he was the number one overall pick in that draft.
Hmm.
And like when you see stupid like lists on like YouTube and stuff of like, oh, worst number one overall picks ever, like they would put him on there. And like I thought that was so undeserved. Like it's so cheap too to
Well,
like kind
he's
of pick someone like that. And I think it's awesome that he can now like kind of shove it down their throats
he's
kind of a thing.
a
Because
Stanley
he
Cup
was
champ, so
yeah, and
everybody
he
else
was
can
the
suck
top
on that.
yeah, and he's a top four D man, assistant captain on that
Yeah.
team. Like he's been there from the very bad times, like when they would have only a couple thousand people in their arena,
Yeah,
to now being a Stanley Cup champion. And so I just want to give our shout out to him too because
for sure.
He showed some Windsor Essex grit, and I think it's fair to say that we can call him a total beaut, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I would love to get Aaron Ekblad on the show. So we're gonna put
For
that in the
sure.
zeitgeist right now. If anyone has any hookups, let us know. If
Yeah.
not, just have to go through the proper channels and see if we can get him on.
Let us know.
Absolutely. I can't wait for his day in with the cup, right? Because it'd be interesting to see if he came back home or if he like obviously he lives in Florida if he's working there and playing there, right? So
Mhm. I could
I
see
would
it
hope he
coming
would bring
here
it down
because the
here.
Cup's in Florida the whole freaking time anyway. So,
That's true. Yeah.
right.
That's true.
All right. What do we
Okay.
got here? We
One
got the
more thing.
draft. Or
Yeah, one more thing. McDavid wins Conn Smythe Trophy, doesn't
oh yeah.
accept it.
Sorry. Yeah. Well, I don't know how I didn't touch on that. Dash one and Jesus.
It's okay.
Um.
But there's a lot to get to, so I completely understand. We're just talking obviously completely deserving as the playoff MVP.
Of
It was
course.
it's specified it's the playoff MVP, not just the finals MVP. So it makes sense that it went to him, just like it went to JS Jaguar back in '03 or to anybody else
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
lost the cup but still won the Conn Smythe. It makes sense because they are the playoff MVP. Cool kind of stat for him.
Yeah.
Obviously, it sucks. I had read that he had planned to go accept the trophy, but when he saw how upset his teammates were, that he went back in. That's what's been reported. I don't know if that's 100% fact, but
Listen.
if that's true, I think that's a classy move. And I think the fact that he kind of stood up Bettman is an even better kind of like angle to it. So,
Listen, anybody that whines about him not going out there and getting the trophy, shut the fuck up. Like seriously, just shut up. Like
yeah,
he's a team guy. He did what any captain would do. He's worried about his team. He's not worried about the Conn Smythe trophy. That's not the trophy he wanted to be
no,
he wanted to have in his hands. Like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
I wouldn't go out there and accept it either. If my
yeah,
team needs me in the locker room, that's where I'm going to be because I'm a leader and that's what I do. And I'm a team guy. And if they don't like it, whatever. Gary Bettman,
yeah.
kiss my ass.
It doesn't
Everybody
change
else,
the
like, it's if the ones that are whining about it don't understand hockey.
Yeah, it doesn't change the fact that he is going to be associated with the award forever, and
Sorry
it
for
doesn't
cussing.
matter. It's okay. And it doesn't matter that like I mean it still doesn't change the fact that it was the one of the best playoff
Oh,
performances we've ever seen.
of all
So
time.
yeah, so I can't wait to see what the re-up comes with, and we will talk about that in the free agency portion of this show. Let's put a pin on it. Obviously, Edmonton, very sad, but congratulations, Florida,
Mhm.
on winning the cup. We
And
will see.
I'll
We'll keep you up to date and on if the cup is going to be in the
yeah,
HL. We will try and
I'll
find that.
I'll
Or
say it now too. I think Connor gets even more points next year in the playoffs. Just throwing that out there now. So
what do you think? 40. Let's go over under 45.
over.
Okay, cool. I will put that in stone right now. Yeah, okay. Let's
All
move
right.
on to the draft. We're gonna just keep it brief because we had a couple of locals
Yeah,
uh from the Windsor Spitfires get drafted pretty early, and we're really excited for them.
for
Congrats,
sure.
guys. If we're just gonna focus on the Windsor Spitfire players,
Yeah,
if we have some more players with local ties that got drafted, I will do a deeper dive on that for a future episode. But right now we're focusing on the two Windsor Spitfires. And those two guys are Liam Greentree and AJ
yeah.
Spellicy. And the talk between you and me basically for the last month and a half about Greentree was he going to go to the Wings at 15 or was he going to go to someone in the late teens, early
Yeah.
20s. And I think we were both wrong when
Yeah.
he went to number 26 to the LA Kings. Obviously, still a first round pick, really cool. He
Oh
just
yeah.
kind of fell out of the range that we thought he was going to be in. Whatever ranking people have on their draft boards, that's information that's pertinent to them.
Yeah.
So, to us, we thought that he could be, maybe 18, 19, 20 kind of material, and he
Yeah.
falls to 26. And that's awesome. A great pick, great organization, LA Kings. And the kid's going to Cali. What better
Mhm.
situation could you
Oh,
want if you're 17, 18 years old and you know that you're going to go to a rookie camp in California now for the next couple years?
wouldn't that scare the shit out of you a little bit though? Being
Hey,
such a
man,
young guy and you're like, man, I'm going to California.
yeah.
And like just it'd be a little and like scary kind of.
Absolutely, yeah. To go, say you're going from Windsor to California, and even
Hmm.
we'll talk about Spellacy after, but even going from Windsor to Chicago, Chicago is one of the
Yeah.
biggest cities in the world, man.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big market, and these guys that maybe come from humble beginnings, I don't know who they are personally. Like,
Hmm.
it could be a big kind of a shock to them to go into a situation like that. But I feel like if you're at this level of hockey, you've kind of had some, management
Yeah.
involved in your life saying, okay, here are the steps that you need to take to become a professional athlete. And
Hmm.
they're right at the cusp of that. And like they just need to be able to transition smoothly. And these organizations know that it takes time for these
Yeah,
rookies to
for
get
sure.
acclimated to pro hockey. So I feel like that's what junior hockey and like these guys that come from NCAA programs, that's what they're there for. They're there to develop these kids into becoming eligible to be drafted or signed to undrafted free agent contracts and then
Mhm.
compete in whatever level that they feel like they can compete at, whether that's the NHL level, AHL, ECHL, or
Mhm.
some guys end up playing some other forms of pro hockey down the line. So
Some guys are even sent back to their OHL teams, aren't they?
oh, of course, yeah. That was the whole Shane Wright thing with the Windsor Spitfires a couple of years ago, right? He got sent
Yeah.
back from Seattle to the OHL because of his age and how many games he had played in the OHL.
Hmm.
Instead of sending him to the AHL, I think that would have burned a year of his contract or something, or it would have made an issue there. So like it happens all the time. Like we could potentially have Green Tree on this team for another 2 years.
Yeah.
Spellacy on this team for another 2 years, maybe
Yeah.
more, depending on how old they are. I'm not going to talk about that right now, but could have at least 2 more years of these guys. That's exciting news for the Spitfires to
Yeah,
have,
for
right?
sure.
Like,
Hey,
so
one sec.
So the future is definitely bright for the Windsor
Mm.
Spitfires at that time. Okay, so Green Tree goes to the LA Kings. We will get some more information about when he's going to rookie camp, that kind of stuff for future episodes. We'll give you a kind of a breakdown of where these guys go and what they have to do. And we're gonna work on getting either Liam or both Liam and AJ
Yeah.
Spellacy on the show in the future to talk about this kind of process and how how challenging it is at this stage of their career. So
Mhm.
congratulations to Green Tree, number
For
26
sure.
overall to the LA Kings. And then someone who has absolutely lit up the draft board like rankings recently, AJ Spellacy goes from a guy that was ranked in like the 180s of
Yeah.
North American
Yeah.
skaters in the beginning of the year to moving up to the 120s in rankings for
Good
North
jump.
American skaters, and then getting selected, Spellacy, number 72 overall, early third round pick to the Chicago Blackhawks. He's going to be playing with Connor Bedard in probably 2 or 3 years. And I couldn't think of a better situation for him to go to at this time. What about you?
Do you think it could be sooner?
Who
Seeing
knows,
just
man? We'll see what
seeing
kind of
that.
development he has. He tested so well at the
Well,
combine. Who knows what kind of athletic freak this guy is?
Chicago's in a big kind of rebuild stage right
Yep.
now, although they've kind of sped that up a little bit. We'll talk about that later on.
Yeah.
But it's like they're in that rebuild stage where, some of these younger guys might start getting shots straight out of camp. So
Yeah.
who knows? If he goes in there, has a good camp, lights it up a little bit, snaps it around, you never know. He might have a shot. So,
Yeah, he could be with that kind of process longer than expected,
mhm,
right? Because depending on how well you do is how far they kind of bring you along in your
yeah.
first year there. Obviously, there was some talk about AJ Spellacy prior to by with some reporters talking about his football background, that he had some interest to play football at the Division 1 level, but he decided to focus on hockey and come to
Mhm.
Windsor for the OHL because he's an American player,
Oh,
AJ.
okay.
So he played some football and had played some football growing up and played hockey too. And he had kind of the choice had to make a choice whether he wanted to pursue football or hockey, and he chose hockey. And I think he chose the great a great path because he can fly. He can absolutely fly, and he plays the body well. And I feel like he has the skill set where if the right coaching staff gets him, he could become very effective at the pro level as a penalty killer and kind of like a bottom six kind of solid winger centerman kind of thing, right? So I'm really excited to see what he goes through and what his input on that whole situation and organization
Mhm.
is going to be, because it's a big name, it's a big thing, it's a big deal, and I'm really excited to see, and I'm very happy that the GMs across the NHL saw what we saw,
Mhm.
but but understood him more so and understood like where he was athletically and physically, to where they knew that he was appropriate to be selected as an early third round pick.
Mhm.
Like when we were bantering things around early on, like we thought, like fourth round, fifth round, like we were like thinking whether or not he was going to be a top 100 pick, some guy, like 92 overall. Like we thought, man, that'd be great. 72 overall, that's impressive. So, and that's a big boost in pay too.
For
Like
sure.
when you're talking about your ELCs and everything
Yeah.
like that. So being a third round pick as opposed to a fifth, sixth, seventh round pick, it's a big deal
Mhm.
for him financially and for his future as well, regarding future contracts and stuff like that. Because if you start at one point, you can only go up to another point based on performance, right? So if he can have
Mhm.
that starting, if he can have that baseline contract start higher, that's a big deal for him and his family and stuff. So
Mhm.
congratulations, AJ.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there anything else on NHL draft that you wanted to talk about, or do you want to skip it, push it down the line?
I think so. I think we can wait a little bit for that.
Yeah, we can, if there's someone specific that you want us to kind of
Yeah.
break down,
Yeah, let
send us
us
a
know.
message on social media. Hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, on all of our social media handles, at Hot Tray Hockey and at Total Buttes on Twitter.
Yeah.
Come find me there. Um, yeah, there's a little bit of a busy day on Canada Day in regards to free
Well,
agency signings.
understatement that.
Understatement of the year.
Oh.
Let's just
Oh.
say that there was some money exchanged on the first day of NHL free agency, just a couple of days after the NHL draft. So
Yeah.
this has been a crazy kind of period of time for NHL hockey people before they kind of take a break for the summer.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this is an even crazier kind of 2 day span that we've kind of had to
Yeah.
level out here. Tell us your thoughts on NHL free agency right off the bat, and we'll talk about some big names, and then we'll go over to the Detroit Red Wings free agency pool. Let's do it.
Dollar bills, y'all. That's what happened in the first hour of free agency. 63 deals, folks. 63 deals done in the first hour. Over $735 million spent in 1 hour. As we said earlier when we were off there, over $1 billion, as I $1 billion like Dr. Evil, okay, spent on free agency day. That is, I believe, is an all-time
The
record.
record. Yeah.
Okay. The 735 million in the first hour was more money spent in 1 hour than in the previous, I believe, 4 to 5 years in total,
Wow.
I believe. So,
And there were some big names to go after. To
oh,
to add to your dollar bills, Joe, I feel like we need the Vince McMahon, or sorry, the Shane McMahon
yeah.
WWE intro. Here
Yeah.
comes the
Oh my
money.
God. And trust me,
Here
some
comes the
guys
money.
and
Money,
some
money,
guys
money,
got
money, 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 money,
paid.
money, money.
Some guys got paid, man. Like
Yeah, and
paid.
rightfully so. And I
Mhm.
think that I don't want to go too deep on the weeds on this tampering thing, but like the tampering window where people can talk to each other and like
Yeah.
and kind of get things done beforehand makes things a lot. I think that makes things a lot easier to process in the first hour
Mhm.
of free agency, right? Because deals that have already been kind of taken care of, they're just getting finalized with their paperwork, right?
Yeah.
With the league. So I think that's an improvement. And honestly, it makes it more exciting because when
Oh,
you don't want to wait around to hear big free agent signings. You want to know at noon when it's official who's already signed, what's
yeah.
going on. Like I want to know now. So I feel like they made it a better like event and like a more newsworthy event by being able to
Mhm.
let these teams and players kind of get these deals done before so that it's not as shady as it used to be,
Yeah.
right?
Why don't they just start it at like 8 a.m.?
I don't know, man. It would be honestly, it's if it's noon, I or whatever it was, I don't know what time it was exactly. I thought it was noon.
Probably works out better for the West Coast teams.
It's exactly it because when you're on the East Coast and you're trading stock for 3 hours
Yeah, true.
before the people on the West Coast it's a big deal. So
Yeah.
they want to incorporate that West Coast deal. Why do you think everything starts at 8 o'clock or later when it's a big game?
Mhm.
9 o'clock starts, 8:30, 8:55 starts for these big games. It's because it's the West Coast. They want that West
Yeah.
Coast viewership, and they don't care if the people on the East Coast go to bed.
Yeah,
They don't.
for sure. For sure.
Yeah. All right, enough about the West Coast. Let's talk
Yeah.
about dollars and cents about these
Yeah.
free agents. Obviously, some of these guys could make their deals earlier than the free agency period in July, depending on their contract status. But let's go over some of the big names that happened right as July 1st hit the became official, with that 12 noon
Mhm.
stuff. I'm looking for the biggest first name here as I'm looking at my list,
Was
and it
was
is
it Stamkos? Because he went pretty early.
he did go pretty early. Let's go with Stamkos first. I was really surprised. I thought that you heard that it was between three teams, whether it was Nashville, Tampa, or Detroit. I was really hoping that Detroit had a shot at him,
Yeah.
but I understand the situation that like that Tennessee and Nashville has. It's a really good small market team that is really fighting towards becoming something bigger. And them signing Marchessault as well, who just came off of winning the Cup with Vegas last year and was the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. I feel like that is an absolutely humongous deal to make for the Nashville Predators. What do you think?
I think Nashville won the day, no?
Yeah, I think you're right. They got those three big
I would
names.
I would say that they won the day. Like the Stamkos signing, first of all, for the Lightning to throw out a 8 year 3 million AAV, like why don't you just hork a big old loogie and just hawk it right in his eye? Because that's pretty
Yeah,
much what you just did to him.
yeah,
I would
you're
be
right.
offended by that offer too. No, I played 16 seasons for you, won 2 Stanley Cups, fought through all these bad leg injuries, this and that, came back, had another great year this past season, even though he's in his late 30s.
Still scored 40 goals.
I know, I know. And then
So
you offer him a 8x3,
yeah, I don't
$24
know,
million
man.
dollars over 8 years.
Yeah,
Like
not cool.
it's, you know, it, I would say no too. So then it turns out he hits the market, and like you were saying, it was between three teams, and like Nashville, they've already, is it Barry Trotz there?
Yes, he's the GM.
Okay, what a phenomenal job he did too on free agency day, like you said, bringing in Marchessault and stuff like that too. But now think about the mix they have, right?
Yep.
They have Yossi now. They have, right, now they have
They have a
Yossi. They
lot
have
of they have
Stammer.
a
They
lot of
have Marchessault. They
flexibility.
have Saros and net. They have, the options are endless now. There now they can score. They can play defense. They have great goaltending. Like it's Nashville is going to be one of those teams that's they could. It always seemed like they could just never get over the hump. Like it
Yep.
seemed like they were always kind of right there, but they could
Hmm.
never just get that push. Well, let me tell you, signing Steven Stamkos to a 4 year, $8 million a year, is that what it was? Four
I
by
think
eight.
so. Yeah, I'm looking up I wanted to show you this contract too about Nashville before we go into Stamkos. Another
Yeah.
big signing that really wasn't talked about was Gustav Nyquist, former
Yeah.
Detroit Red Wing.
Yeah.
He signed a 2-year deal, 6.37 million. So for a cap hit of 3.19 mil.
That's a
So
good
that was a
veteran
big, and
move
that is going to solidify their bottom six.
for
And
sure.
the only team that I got to see this year, I only went to one Red Wings game this year because I got the tickets for free. I won a raffle. I took my dad. They played
Yeah.
against Nashville, and I enjoyed watching them play. And I could tell like they're a good team, but they're
Yeah.
just a couple pieces away. And
Yeah.
I feel like the ownership and the management, they got on the same page and they said, "Hey, we need to go spend some dollars on these good players." They knew that the free agency class was good,
Yeah.
so it was time.
Oh,
And they absolutely pounced on it, and I'm happy for them because I really enjoy the franchise itself. I've
mhm.
always liked them. And when they went on that cup run a little while ago, I thought that was really cool, and I thought that was a good thing
Yeah.
for the market, those small market teams that make it.
Yeah.
But it's
Let
gonna
me tell
be.
you,
Yeah,
Nashville fans, be excited. Be excited because like this year
yes.
is going to be it's going to be a good year for you. It's going to be a really good year. So,
Absolutely. So, Stamkos off the board first. I feel
yeah.
like that's a good one to start off with.
Listen, I watched it from noon till probably 5 o'clock.
Okay, so tell
Not
me
even joking.
what was the biggest thing that you took away? Like who were the people that what were the teams that gave the biggest impact in your opinion, besides Nashville, because we just talked about them.
Um,
I feel like Vancouver had some pretty solid signings, like the Louis DeBrusk
yeah.
signing
I
is
hate
really
to
good.
admit
Or
it, Toronto.
sorry, Jake DeBrusk, not Louis is
I
his dad.
hate to admit it, but Toronto really made some big moves for their blue line.
Yes.
The Tanev move was fantastic. The
Yes.
Oliver Ekman Larson was another good move. Stanley Cup champion now, by the
Yep.
way. Thanks for coming. And then now like adding those two now is now giving Riley some help on that Toronto blue line. And then
Yep.
now so OEL's now bringing in that backup goalie with him. What's his name?
Sorry, Stolars, Anthony
Yes,
Stolars.
okay. And he had a I believe almost a 930 save percentage or
Solid,
something.
very
He had a
solid.
great record. He had like a 19-7-5 record or something like that. He
Yep.
had a really good record. He's going to be a guy. He's going to come in. I have a feeling that these two goalies are now going to because they signed Wool to a 3-year deal, 3 year by three something, I think.
Yep.
So I have a feeling that these two are going to be almost like a Allmark and Swayman kind of deal, like they had last year in Boston. I think
Yep.
these two are going to be like a 1A, 1B ish, but I have to give the slight edge to Wool and when it comes to games played, just because he has a little bit more of the veteran experience. I don't think either of them have played 100 games in a show,
Yeah.
right? So they're both fairly new to the NHL, but
Hmm.
I'm going to give the start to Wool but Toronto made some nice moves, so I'll give them that. They signed Max Domi as well. I believe he re-signed.
Yep.
That's a nice move too. That will help their. I believe he's going to play bottom six, right? So
Yeah.
that's going to help them too as well. It adds a little bit of grit too, which I
Yes.
like. But it's
I love
grit
that word.
that you can actually have in the lineup. Like you can't have Revo just in the lineup every night. Like you know what I mean? Like Max Domi
Mhm.
is a guy that you can play in the lineup every single night, and he's a bulldog too. So I like that.
Absolutely.
So
The one name that we forgot about in Nashville is Brady Ski. He's the
yes.
defenseman there. And
Mhm.
of course, Tampa replaced Stamkos with Jake Gunsel. That was a big signing as
Yeah.
well.
Mhm.
Um, Boston got Elias Lindholm and they signed Nikita Zadorov as well. That was big. And now let's talk about before we talk about the Wings, let's talk about Florida and Edmonton specifically because I want to kind of do like a compare and contrast of those teams
Yeah.
before and after free agency day.
Yeah.
So Florida is gonna it brought back Sam Reinhart
Yeah.
on a good deal, like on a deal that he deserves based on his performances. They brought back Kulikov, but Brandon Montour's gone to Seattle. Lomberg is gone to Calgary. Oliver Leckman Larson is to Toronto. Kevin Stenlund has gone to Utah, and Stolars is to the Leafs, right? And when you look at what Edmonton did, I feel like Edmonton stayed as competitive or better than they were after they lost. And I
Yep.
feel like Florida is a much different team now.
Hmm.
And I feel like a lot of those guys obviously got the money that they deserve by, being as good as they were and
Yeah.
winning the Stanley Cup, right? They deserve those paychecks. But wow, Florida's going to have a hard
Oh,
time coming back on this one because I don't know, like who if you were Paul Maurice, wouldn't you maybe hang it up right now? Like,
I would at this point. He's had almost 30 years in the league, but he's just one
yeah,
of those guys. He just loves
he
it.
might just
Like
yeah,
and
and who
he
knows?
just
He might want to try and see if he can run it back too. So,
could you see him
yeah,
going into like management and just not coaching?
yeah, maybe I don't know. Like that just depends on what his
You
overall.
think maybe he comes back to the Windsor area and ever coach here in Windsor at some
That'd be
point? Or?
fantastic. But we do have a new head coach for the
Oh
Windsor
yeah,
Spitfires,
we'll
and we're
talk
and
about
we're
that
gonna pick
after.
up about another time.
Yeah,
Um, so those are the big names that we really wanted to talk about with free agency. If there's someone specific that you want us to chat about, send us an
yeah,
inbox, send us a question, and we'll address it at the beginning of the next episode. We just have to keep going so that we don't make this a 3.5 hour podcast
yeah. Because it
this
very well
time.
could be. It very well could be.
Okay, let's focus strictly on the Detroit Red Wings. Can we, my
Yeah,
friend?
yeah.
Okay,
Let's do it.
let's talk about the Wings. Let's talk about they made almost 10 signings, which I thought was good. They made some impactful signings. They also
Yep.
made some depth signings as well. And I'm
And
just going to go through them one by one in order. And obviously, we're going to end up with Tarasenko at the end, and we're gonna put the cherry on the Sunday for that one. So
yeah.
let's talk about goaltending depth. Detroit got some. They signed Cam Talbot to a 2 year, $5 million contract with the Wings.
Is goaltending depth the right term for that? We have fucking 16 goalies right now, I think.
Well, man, honestly, the way that the injury bug has hit the
Yeah,
Detroit Red
true.
Wings goaltending the last couple of
Okay.
years, I think you need to have at least like five
No,
on
you're
your
right.
roster
Sorry,
right
man. Go
now.
go ahead. I just thought
So,
because that's why I
dude,
just started laughing because you're like
podcasts are
goalie
great, man,
depth.
because you can put on your opinion. It's not a
Yeah,
news show,
it is
right?
funny.
So you can, yeah, man, depth is the word because
Jesus.
if you don't have them, you can't
Backup's
use them.
backup has a backup.
Exactly. If you don't have that player, you can't use them. So you got to sign them. You can get rid of them at another time for a draft pick or
Just
for
funny.
cash considerations.
Yeah, for sure.
So big. I mean, I'm all for it. Cam Talbot's 36 years old. He's been in the league for a long time. He's gonna give you a shot each night. He's got a 2.5 goals against average, a
Mhm.
913 save percentage last
I like
year
that.
with LA. And he played 54 games last year. He had 52 starts. So
Mhm.
that's a lot. And so you at least you have someone that you know can play. You know what I mean? Like they can play at least half the season.
Mhm.
Dude, give me three goalies that can split 82 games and I'll take it right now because we want to have
Okay, but
some.
then who do you put for those three goalies?
I don't know. That's what the thing that's
You
what this
go,
show's
well,
about.
I would say Talbot and Lyon for sure.
Yeah, Talbot, Lyon, and you keep Jack Campbell in the minors for
So
right now.
what do you do with Huso? You still have
I
Billy
don't know.
Huso.
That's what let's
I
talk
seen a
about, my
thing
friend.
online. Someone had it. If the Red Wings line up, if the season started right now, and
Hmm.
they had Huso and Talbot, they didn't even have Lyon in there.
Yeah, Lyon's been hurt a lot, right?
I
So,
know, but
well,
still though,
Huso's been hurt more than Lyon
I'm
has.
talking pure skill wise here.
Yeah,
I'm
that's fair.
taking Lyon over Huso. No,
Right now, yeah. If they're going on like potential from a couple years ago, yeah, you could go with Huso, but I think Lyon's been better later. So, um,
younger.
so good for them. Like Talbot's played. Let's look at all these list of these teams. Talbot's played for the LA Kings, Ottawa Senators, Minnesota Wild, Calgary Flames, Philadelphia Flyers, Edmonton Oilers, and the New York Rangers. So just get him another jersey
Yeah.
with his name on it, and that guy is just going to add it to his career. 36 years old. I'll take it. I'll
His
like that's
rec
what I'll
room's
take.
gonna look sweet. He's gonna have lots of jerseys hanging in it.
Exactly. That's a fun wing of the house. Put the
Yeah.
old jerseys on. So I'm okay with that. I'm down with it. They also signed defenseman William Lagesson to a 1-year contract worth like $750,000. He's
Mhm.
28 years old. He had 4 assists in 40 games between Toronto and Anaheim last year. Not a big signing, but a depth signing for
Yeah.
sure. You gotta with these defensemen, like their points really aren't that important. It's their ability to keep guys off the scoreboard that really matters more. So it's hard to
Yeah.
see until you see them in a jersey to kind of quantify how good they are.
Mhm.
Detroit signed Christian Fisher, former Windsor Spitfire. He's, like a third, fourth line guy. He plays his role well. He only had 5 goals this year. He had 19 points, 5 goals. He's a penalty killer. I really like him. I liked him when I covered him when he played for the Windsor Spitfires. He was a 40 goal scorer
Okay.
for the Windsor Spitfires.
He
He
was
was
up and down last year, right?
Yeah, so he's played
Okay.
he's played 477 NHL games. Fisher has
Mhm.
in between Arizona and Detroit, but he's also
Okay.
played like 60 AHL games. So
Okay.
he's been in the league for a long time, but he does go up and down sometimes based on
Yeah.
performance and like what his contract situation is that year. So
Mhm.
he's on a 1-year deal with them, and he's going to get 1.125 mil. And I feel like that's a pretty solid piece to
Yeah.
say for a guy that's going to play on your bottom 2 lines, right?
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure if he gets bumped to the second line, he'll be fine to do it, but he's not one of your A-level players, but he
Mhm.
is a player that can play a very particular role for Detroit, and I feel like he fits that well. And he's a Michigan guy. He's an American.
Yeah.
He's a Michigan guy. So I think he's a hometown guy that really wants to get it done. And I feel like if you want to get to the playoffs, you need a guy like Christian Fisher that will help you get there. So I'm okay with that signing there.
We need playoff hockey, man. This is getting ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So after that, they signed a pair of more Michigan natives. So Jack Campbell, who's a guy who also played for the Windsor
Stevie
Spitfires.
loves those Michigan natives, eh?
Yeah, I
Loves
believe
it.
he grew up in Port Huron, I believe.
Okay.
So Detroit signed Jack Campbell, who was, if people don't remember, he was the goaltender. He played for Edmonton. He got a big contract to go. Played well for Edmonton. Got a big contract. Really struggled the last year and a half,
Mhm.
and is now in the AHL. Was for Edmonton. He never got called up during the playoffs. So Detroit signs him to a 1-year deal worth $750,000, and I feel like that's fair.
Yeah.
Um, he's an NHL goaltender who is fringe
They're,
level
they will
to
give him
be
a
under.
shake this year. He'll get a shake.
Absolutely. He'll play
100% he
some
will,
games
because
for Detroit. Absolutely. He'll play some
he
games.
he could be one of those guys too that just gets hot for no reason, just bam.
Yeah, and that's goalies,
And
man.
just
Like,
goes on a run. Like, you know what I
yep.
mean? And he's one of those guys that I think could possibly do that. Maybe just needed
Yeah,
a little bit of a change of scenery. And
yeah.
so
Um,
we'll see.
like he's got the resume
Yeah,
and
for
he just
sure.
needs a shot, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes these goalies later in their life. I mean, he's not that young. He's in his early
Well,
30s, but he's
most of them are.
32. So he's got a couple more cracks at the can left.
Mhm.
But I feel like he can contribute to this team for sure. Maybe as a number 3 or as like somebody that you stash in the HL. I don't know what his contract situation is like specifically if he's allowed to go up and down, but
Mhm.
we'll see. They also signed Sheldon Dries to a 2-year, two-way contract. So he's going to be up and
Not
down, like
familiar
kind of
with
like
him.
those guys that are like Zach Aston Reese, Austin Zarnik. You're going to
Up
hear
and
those
down
names
type deal.
up and down, and they're solid players. They're good NHL players. And you need to fill them up. Like Dry spent a lot of the time with Abbotsford, so like Vancouver's
Yeah.
AHL team. So
Yeah.
they signed him, so he's going to be able to contribute there. He was first on Abbotsford's AHL team in goals. He had 29 goals in the AHL last year. He had 23 assists. So, and he played some big penalty, and he played some big roles for that team. So,
Mhm.
I mean, if you can get depth for your bottom 6, I don't know. Like, I feel like that's a pretty solid way to do it.
Yeah.
And other than that, I don't really have any more to say about Sheldon Dries or Jack Campbell. I feel
Well,
like they fill a specific need, and I feel like Stevie was being very prudent to make signings for players like that because he did save some very impressive signings for after. I'm just
Mhm.
gonna quickly go through the other three signings before we go towards Tarasenko, okay?
Yeah.
So after that, they signed Eric Gustafson to a 2-year contract, $2 million average. He's got 222 points in 455 games, and he's been in the league since 2015. I think that we can accept that he is a suitable signing for this defensive core that really wants to improve their performance this year in order to get in the playoffs. Because honestly, literally, they were 1 goal away from making the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
So solid there. So Gustafson, enough said. Um, let's go with Snively's next. Joe Snively, 1 year. The guy, he's an AHL, he's a really solid AHL player. He's won back-to-back Calder Cup championships with the Hershey
Mhm.
Bears. And I feel like he's gonna be, you know, bottom. He's gonna be a fourth line guy that gets sent up and down about 5, 6 times over the year, depending on who gets hurt and how well things go for the Detroit Red Wings at that time of year.
Mhm.
Thoughts? Similar, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Nothing too sexy, right? Like, but these are things that contribute to championship style hockey teams. So, um, one more player here before we go to Tarasenko. We've got Tyler Mott. Detroit signed him to a 1-year contract, $800,000. He's 400 games in the NHL since 2016. He's there to provide grit and to
For
help
sure.
you win battles, and he's there to kill penalties
I believe
potentially.
he's I
And
believe he's a big body too, right?
yes, he is.
Yeah.
So we'll do a deeper dive on them when we look at like the outlook of the Wings roster in a future episode because I feel like he'll make more noise than we think he will be. So
Mhm.
we'll save our opinions on him until then. Because who's the biggest free agent signing for the Detroit Red Wings, my friend?
Who's the biggest?
Who's the biggest? Who's
Vladdy
the big tuna?
Tarasenko.
Vladimir Tarasenko. Guy
Mhm.
who feels like he's been playing in the league for ever. Basically,
Yeah.
it feels like ever since I've been watching, so, since like 2012, 2013, I feel like I've been watching this guy play. And he signs a 2-year, $9.5 million contract with the Wings. I feel like that was probably the biggest signing that a team who's on the cusp of making the
Yeah.
playoffs
Yeah.
made in free agency to get them kind of over the
Mhm.
edge. Do you agree?
Yeah, well, what was one of the things last year that we kind of had a little bit of issue with? It was that we needed that one more guy. We needed that one more goal. We needed that, you know what I mean? That just that
One more
one
kind of
more,
ringer.
that one more all the time. It always seemed like one more. Oh, if we had a guy that could do this, if we had a guy that could do that, well, now we kind of just got that guy. He's gonna come in. He's gonna score probably 20 to 30 goals a season. He's gonna the Red Wings power play right now. Are you freaking kidding me? So like
Yeah.
if they really wanted to, we could throw out four forwards and a D man, and you can go
Yep.
Larkin, Kane, DeBrinket, Tarasenko, and Cider if you really wanted
Mhm.
to on the power play. How does that sound for a power play? Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. And
and
I
these
know that
guys are,
we,
oh yeah, they're gonna whip the puck around. Tarasenko, like I said, he's like, don't get me wrong, he can be a little bit of a mean son of a bitch too. Like he's got a little bit of a
yep,
streak to him too. He's definitely
absolutely.
not scared to drop the gloves once in a while because I believe he has a couple times,
Yep.
and he's kind of shocked me on how well he's done in that category. So he's just a guy. He's going to come in. He's a veteran. He's going to add leadership. He's going to add some scoring. He's now a two-time Stanley Cup champion.
Yep. He won the
So
Stanley Cup in
yeah,
2019 with the
so
Blues.
this is what this locker room needs for a fairly young Red Wings team is we need some veteran leadership and guys that have done it all and know what it takes to win. So a,
Absolutely.
a guy like this is perfect signing.
I feel like the dollar amount doesn't hurt as well. Like
No.
4.75, I feel like you
Ah,
can take a chance on that guy and hopefully, he can get you 50, 60 points a year and especially kind of focus on the power play for you and then like special end of
special teams
period and
guy.
end of game situations there. Um
Give the
I
puck to
forgot to
Showtime.
Yeah. And I forgot to mention Patty Kane because I feel like that was kind
Yeah.
of a given that he was going to re-sign a 1-year deal.
Oh, I don't
But
know
that's
about
obviously a
that.
huge. I'm just saying, like to me, like I wasn't that big of a surprise
Mhm.
that Kane signed as compared to Tarasenko.
I wasn't shocked that he stayed. No, if that's what kind of what you're saying or
Yeah,
referring to, but like I was a little worried for a little bit because I was hearing the Rangers again, and
yeah.
I was
He's a
hearing
New York
possibly
guy.
back to
He's from Buffalo.
Chicago, and like I don't know how he felt after last season and stuff like that. So
Mhm.
I was hoping he was going to come back for the games that he played. He was great. I believe he
Yeah.
was a point a game guy for or damn close to it anyways. But
It seemed like he had 15 overtime winning goals last year. I
yeah,
don't know
and
how,
he
but
loves wearing the wing wheel. Like I don't care
yeah.
what anybody says, he loves wearing it. So he's a great fit for the team. He's another guy with veteran. He's a vet. It's leadership. He's a what 3-time Stanley Cup champion.
Yep.
So we need him.
Yep. For
In
sure.
other words, right? He's a guy you can kind of put in all situations too. So Swiss
And
Army knife.
for sure. And I'm looking at how the Wings lost the tiebreaker last year, and that was because of regulation wins,
Mhm.
right? So they lost 32 to 27
So it's which
in
that
that
means
to Washington, right? So if you can get some guy that can help you finish games early, and help you get more regulation wins instead of squeaking out a point in overtime or an extra point in a shootout,
here
that's going to go a long way
here's
to
a
helping
stat
this
I would
team
love to know.
be, yeah.
How many times the Wings lost by 1 goal in regulation last year?
We can get the research department on that. Tristan, let's do it, buddy. Um,
I bet you there's at least I would say probably 10 to 15 games at least.
yeah, I think that's fair to say. And of course, Detroit has missed the playoffs for the last 8 years, which is the
Oh
longest
my.
streak in their history. So that's too long.
So if
It's
they
too
don't
long.
make it this year, I'm starting a fight. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like where I'm going with somebody.
Yeah. And
It's
I
gonna be
feel
you.
like that is the gist of it, right?
Oh,
It's a very interesting signing period. Obviously, it's not over yet, but the big names have gone, so I feel like it was an appropriate time to come down and chat. Obviously, we will
mm,
keep people updated on what is going on with future signings and stuff like that. We're gonna focus on Detroit and some Toronto Maple Leafs content, not so much everybody in the NHL, but
yeah.
if there's anybody specific or any team that you think that maybe we should chat about a little bit more, send us messages, let us know, and we will try to get that done. Even if it's like a comment on Instagram or something like that,
Yeah,
we'll
whatever. Let us
look
know.
into it.
Let us know.
Okay. What do
Well,
you think, my friend? You all done? You wanna
no,
you
I got a
any
one
final
more
words?
topic, real
Yeah.
quick. What did you think about the Joel Quenneville reinstatement?
I was surprised that um well, sorry. I thought that the timing was peculiar because it was right before the free agency signing.
Well, he can sign as of July 10th.
Well, what I mean is that like he can, like the news that he was going to be reinstated
Mm,
happened, and then all the free agency news started, right? So it
yeah.
kind of drowned out that story.
Well, timing is everything, my friend.
Of course, and that is, and it's an exact science in PR in with these NHL teams and these these marketing
Yeah.
advertising
Yeah.
agencies, right? But good for Joel. Whatever process that they said that he had to go through in order to become reinstated.
Yeah.
I'm sure that he completed it to the best of his ability. Joel obviously has roots in Windsor. He
Yeah.
played for the Riverside Rangers organization, so he's a Windsor guy.
Yeah.
Won the Stanley Cup with the Chicago Blackhawks on those incredible teams there, and of course the whole. I believe his name was Kyle Beach. The whole
Yeah.
uh, the sexual assault stuff that happened
Also,
with that team was horrible, and
mm,
hopefully the league has been thorough in their assessment of
yeah.
them being able to be reinstated, and if they feel like he's being able to be reinstated, then welcome back to the league, Joel.
Yeah.
So
So our friends over at Cam and Strick podcast there,
yep,
Cam Jansen and them over there, former Windsor Spitfire,
yep.
former guest on the show. And he so their show, they did an interview with Joel, and it's the only interview that he's done is was with them. So you guys should
Mhm.
go listen to it. It's called the Cam and Strick podcast. Joel Quenneville is on there. He answers a lot of shit. He clears a lot of stuff up. He's very honest in the interview. I listened to it. There's a couple times where I felt a little uncomfortable during it. Like, you know, how
Yeah.
you can kind of
Hmm.
feel like that during when you're listening to something, but it's a good interview. He explains a lot. Also, too, I was told, I'm not sure on how true it is or whatever, but I was also told that Kyle Beach had a conversation with Gary Bettman and said that he was okay if Joel Quenneville wasn't stated back into the NHL. So
And I think that's very important to know.
that's a classy move to me on his part as well, just because knowing that him and Joel did have a good relationship. But Joel explains a lot in that interview. So I'm telling you, listen to it, guys. You will enjoy it.
Absolutely. Yeah. We don't want to speculate. We're
Yeah.
going to send you straight to the
Yeah.
source
Yeah.
and you can form your
Absolutely.
opinion there.
Hmm.
And in a professional setting,
I feel like was there a
congratulations to Joel.
yeah,
And
yes.
if he's
Welcome
going to get
back.
another chance, he may, I feel like he deserves it.
Was there
Um,
trying to think, was there anything else that happened?
Windsor Spitfires head coach Greg Walters was named.
Yes. Yep.
He
Yep.
was also just recently reinstated to the OHL after serving a suspension due to an argument with an assistant coach. Last year, he served it was a lengthy suspension, and he had to go through a process to be reinstated by the OHL as well.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
not to go from one
Mhm.
conversation to another in regards to being reinstated, but it's just how the topic was transitioned. Um, Greg Walters has a very good resume in
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
OHL and the OJHL. He's been coaching at this level for over 20 years. It's about 24 years now. He spent
Mhm.
8 or 9 years in the OJHL, and then he had stops with Oshawa and then with the Owen Sound Attack. So
Mhm.
I feel like with all the names that were out there that were very interested in the post, Greg Walters, I feel like was probably in Bill Boulder's opinion, head and shoulders above them in terms of his ability
Yeah.
hit like in terms of his resume and his ability to
Mhm.
coach teams because he's literally been doing it for over 2 decades.
Yeah.
So I feel like that was a very smart move from Bowler to go with the guy with the most experience. Obviously, if he was in the process of having to be reinstated, Billy Bowler would have done his due diligence to make sure
Yeah,
that
for sure.
all the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed
Mhm.
before he could be, introduced as the head coach of the Windsor Spitfires. From everything that I've read and everything that I've listened to and watched, he seems to be in a place where he's very appreciative to be getting a second chance. And not to say that like he got suspended, right? And he had to go through the process. I don't know if second
Mhm.
chance is the right way to put it, but he was excited to have the opportunity to coach with the Windsor Spitfires
Yeah.
after the end of his last coaching stint.
Mhm.
So, and I feel like he's going to be very good for the program, and I
Absolutely.
feel like wins will be very consistently coming this year.
So
I don't want to do like a broad range of say, hey, they're going to win this many games,
mhm.
but
So
they
also
only won a
too,
handful. They didn't win that many
yeah,
games this year.
on
So
him. So
I
former Amherstburg Admirals coach Paul Bortino played for him when Paul
yep.
played in the OHL, and Paul absolutely loved him as a coach.
Okay.
So I'm gonna throw that out there. So the guy,
For
he's
sure.
his
All the
resume is
stuff.
fantastic. He knows
Yeah, all
hockey.
this.
He's a great hockey mind. He's kind of what we need at this rebuild stage right now.
Yes, absolutely. And the Windsor Spitfires are in a very precarious situation because not precarious, but like a very important timing with their roster because they've got a lot of talent on the roster and they need to be able to harness it to be able
Hmm.
to get some success in this next like 2 year window
Yeah.
to maybe 3 year window where they're gonna have a lot of talent on this
And we got a
roster.
lot of draft picks too. So
Yes. Yes.
there's a lot
So
coming through the pipeline. Lots of tools to work with.
for sure. And while I'm on the topic of it, I feel like Bill Bowler deserves a lot of credit for
Hmm.
being able to put the Windsor Spitfires back in a position where they will be competitive
Yeah.
in the next a year or two. Like he took a lot of crap from
I'll
people
be honest
after
with
the
you. I
team.
thought Billy Bowler was on the hot seat, man.
Yep.
I thought he
And
was.
and as a fan and as someone who consumes hockey media, that's fair for you to think because
Yeah.
that's how things go,
And
right?
he
But
had, let me tell you, it was is masterful a word? Masterful is a
Yeah.
word, right?
Yep.
Okay. The way that he flipped it around to where it looked like everything was real bad there, to where all of a sudden we had all these draft picks back. We had some of the trades he made. I know he sent some great guys out of town and stuff like that,
Hmm.
but he essentially like jumped his rebuild 3 years by doing it. Like
Yeah,
it's
it seemed like he was able to flip the spare part players. Like he was able to,
yes,
he was able to flip the players that were overage players that deserved to go play in a better
have a
situation
shot
at
to
the end of
win.
their
Yeah,
career. And he was
absolutely.
able to get picks back from that. He was able to use those picks to get players to help them in the short term, like fill in some OA spots,
Yes.
and then into a place where it wouldn't hurt you that those guys walked away, like
Yeah.
Torre
Yeah.
and like
Oh,
Zito and stuff like that, like
he
those
did
overage
a
players. And he
fantastic job.
kept and he kept the core players that he wanted. He kept Weingard, Walton, Woodle, Cristoforo, Eichel on the back end there. Those
Yeah.
five guys that have now played for a year or two each, at least, right? Cristoforo being the elder statesman of that back group there with the draft picks that they've taken, Ethan Hicks and maybe some depth guys that they have in junior B and in the farm system.
Yeah.
Maybe they can prevent, say another 10, 12, 15 goals on the year because they're that much better defensively. Offensively, if they can capitalize on the fact that they have two top 75 NHL draft picks on their roster and fill in the gaps with players that are suitable or can still fill certain roles. Like, man, if you've got Cole Davis on a line with Liam Greentree, I feel like he's going to set up Greentree a bunch, and then he's going and Green
Absolutely.
and Davis is going to get a bunch of chances
Mhm.
too. And we're not even talking about Ethan Belchez yet because we haven't seen him in a jersey.
Yeah.
So I feel like the sky's the limit for the team. They made the right choice by going to a guy with over 2 decades of experience, regardless of his past, how his last coaching stint ended. Nothing about the suspension had to do with an interaction with a player.
Yes.
It was an
Yeah.
argument
What?
with an assistant
Yeah.
coach.
Whatever. Who gives a shit? That's normal. That's hockey.
But it's important to state that it had nothing to do with a verbal
Yes.
altercation with a player. It was
Yes.
nothing to do. It was an argument that got overheated.
It was
So
man on man, not man
yeah,
on like
it's not
player.
he wasn't
Yeah.
berating a player and got in
Yes.
trouble for it. It was an argument that went over acceptable limits
Yeah.
with an
Whatever.
assistant coach. So
It
I
was an argument.
it's water under the bridge as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned. It has nothing to do with the on ice product or it has nothing to do with the players. As long as the players are comfortable, as long as the Spitfires organization is comfortable, everyone else should be comfortable.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that we are going to have a very competitive team when the puck drops at the
Yeah.
beginning of this season. So
Here's the
congratulations,
thing
Greg
though.
Walters. Welcome to Windsor. Get yourself
Yeah.
some Windsor pizza and a chicken delight.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely crush those. But
Mm.
here's the thing. There's no expectations.
No.
Just go out and play. Just literally all they have to do is go out and play. There's no
Yep.
expectations. They could win fucking 13 games next year and everybody go, oh, well, we were all kind of expecting that. Like everybody's kind of newer. Or they can go out and win 40, 50 games and everybody be like, holy shit. Like, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
there's no
Anything
expectation.
above anything above 2025 wins, I feel like they're gonna be happy and they're gonna be above
I
expectations.
wouldn't mind
They're
seeing
gonna
them
be
if
a
they're,
playoff team.
yeah, if they're on the lower end, I wouldn't mind seeing them like, hey, if you're gonna come in the Windsor, that's fine. You're gonna come in here, you might leave with a win, but you're gonna leave lumped up.
Yeah.
We're gonna
And I
dump
feel
pucks
like
into the corner. We're gonna run you. We're gonna, if there's
mhm,
scrums, we're gonna get our freaking glove in your face. We're gonna give you the face wash. We're gonna
yep,
scrap. We're gonna everything. You're gonna come here and you're gonna earn your 2 points if you're coming in to Windsor. Like, then that's the
absolutely.
way it should be every single night. If they're losing games, make it as hard on that team as possible to come in here and get
Yep.
2 points. Whether
Make
that
them know that
be
they were in a game that night.
physical. Like
Mhm.
you might not win, but I tell you what, you'll put asses in the seats if you're physical, and you know what I mean. If you play an
I agree.
entertaining game, then
Hmm.
it's, if you go there and it's fucking snooze fest 1-2-2, and you're sitting in your seat eating your popcorn like, oh my god, I just want to go home type
Yep.
deal. Your kid's not getting a puck, he's crying and everything, but he's all crazy, right? But it's just
Yeah.
make it entertaining though. Like I understand
That's all
Spitfire
people
hockey
want.
usually is entertaining. Like I've
Yeah.
never went to a game and been like, wow, I'm bored, like ever.
No, for
But
sure.
I'm just saying, like, all I'm want to say is when teams come in here, if we're not going to win a lot of games, make them earn it. That's
I
all I'm
agree.
saying.
And Greg Walters' teams have a penchant to be physical
Yeah.
aggressively and very sound defensively. So I feel like we're going to see a very strong team. I don't want to make a prediction about
No,
whether they're going to be a
no,
top four team in the Western
no.
Conference because it's such a crapshoot, but they will be a playoff team. I know that's not saying much because top 8 out of 10 get in,
Make it
but
interesting.
yeah, they'll be a playoff team for sure. And I feel like if they can, string together some playoff experience, that'll be very valuable for
Yeah.
them moving forward.
Let's bring those dogs out. Let's get the dogs out, man. That's what I want.
Absolutely. And of course, we want to see you guys at the WFCU Center this year. We're going to try and set something up this year where we maybe we'll have like an HTH booth or something at the
Maybe
Windsor Spitfire
maybe
game.
we'll like record a show there or something one night too.
Dude, yeah,
We could
that'd be
maybe do
absolutely
that too.
awesome.
That'd be
I
cool.
feel like it would be really cool to record an interview right in their dressing room, like right on the
Yeah.
Spitfire logo, right near
Or
the
like
Spitfire
up in the
logo.
suites with the rink in the background.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, we could definitely make something happen there.
We're gonna have to figure something out here. We gotta do more for the Spitz fans.
Yeah, for
Like,
sure.
because like I said, that's why one of the things with adding you is we're gonna get more Spitfires content because
For
I
sure.
feel that we didn't talk about them. So we're ramping up the Spitz content this year, guys. So buckle up.
Absolutely. And of course, if you have been paying attention to our social media channels, you'll know that we have kind of reached not a partnership, but just like an agreement with Your TV Windsor
Yeah.
that Ant, myself, and Tristan are going to be part of a crew of people covering Windsor Spitfires away games, 10 away games during the year. We're going to be our studio host and analysts. So
Mhm.
we're really excited about
Yeah.
the possibilities for that. And we're really excited about the reaction from the fans on social media about that. So thank you guys for reaching out and letting us know that you're excited
Yeah.
about us joining the Windsor Spitfires coverage crew on Your TV Windsor and
Let's
on
go, baby.
Quenneville. So it's officially like Anthony Gaudette and Brett Hedges and Tristan McGuire on the OHL tonight on Your TV Windsor. So that's going to be really exciting. Mm-hmm.
Let's
Are
go.
you good, my buddy? We should
Yeah.
send the folks home happy
Yeah.
and
And so for everybody wondering, Tristan had to work, okay, and we had to get
yeah,
something out to you guys. So Tristan gave us the nod to go ahead and do the epi here because like I said, we felt like we didn't want to fall too far behind because we kind of did with but everything kind of happened so quick, like the Stanley
yeah.
Cup, the draft, the free agency all happened like within a week. So it was all kind of hard, but at least we got to get something out to you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoy. We're going to record a bunch of interviews and stuff coming up. We're going to probably pop on, do an episode here or there. So you'll be catching us throughout the summer for sure.
Yeah, if anything big happens, we'll try and catch you guys up with it and
Live
get
streams too.
that.
Check us out on live streams.
Mm-hmm.
Uh TikTok the other day, I had about 200 and something watching me. It was crazy.
Yeah, that's
Like
fun.
I know at once.
Yeah.
So that was wild. There was there firing questions at me. It was awesome. So
Yeah, that's exciting.
let's do more of that.
Absolutely. So yeah, make sure you follow us on all of our social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Make sure that you smash subscribe on the YouTube if you're watching us on the YouTube
Yeah,
channel.
crush that YouTube.
If you're listening to us on the podcast, just audio only, make sure you give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. It really helps us jump up the charts. We're really trying to get up the charts in hockey in Canada, and we're really excited about the opportunity to do so.
Yeah,
If you
baby.
guys want us to talk about anything specific, give us a shout out on our social media and make sure you check out our merch store for all of the HTH merch link. Ant, show them off the hat. Show off the hat. Show them what we got
Yeah.
going in the merch
Oh,
store.
bam.
Beautiful. My man, right there.
I am.
Big shout out to our friend Carrie Miller for hooking it up with all of our fantastic merch on Hat Trick Hockey. Are you good, my friend? We ready to go?
Yes, sir.
All right, from all of us at Hat Trick Hockey, that's Ant. I'm Brett saying so long. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Hat Trick Hockey. Good night.
Yeah.
I've lost my fight with time. My numbers up and up the line. I gaze at the darkness, so empty. Just looking for the light. Shout for help, but no one's there. Need a guiding hand, someone who cares. All alone in the darkness, I've realized for the first time I am scared. more to say. If I could do it all